What is up YouTube? And today we're going to be talking all about Yeli and how you want to actually build her. Now I'm going to show you multiple builds. I don't have every single build available on my account because I don't just have every single piece of gear, but I'll be showing you the ones I have and I'll be talking about other ones you can run. And the reason why she can be run on so many builds is because she is one of the most flexible characters in the game. You can use her for shell hunting, you can use her for threshold farming, you can use her in arena defense. She's very good, and she's also extremely powerful in RTA. One of the top tier units currently that I think is looked over because of how complex her builds seem. And if you don't know what build to run her on in certain situations, she might feel a lot weaker than she actually is. So first off, she's a DPS, so you definitely want to 6-star her no matter what. So when you pull her, if you plan to use her, make sure you 6-star her. After that, you're probably thinking, what skills do I need to upgrade? Spoiler alert, she's a DPS, so she is very Lattice hungry. So, compared to like Dieting and Messiah, she's going to be similarly pretty Lattice hungry and skill prowess hungry. But the one you have to upgrade to use her at all is her S2. So her S2 works if you crit, you have a chance to follow up with your S1, and this can chain over and over. And each chain will be 60% of the last chance. By maxing it out, you start with the highest chance possible, which is 100%. So you will guarantee the first attack to actually proc her passive. Then after that, you have a higher chance on each follow-up attack than if you didn't have it leveled. So definitely a must-have. You need to have this. This is her bread and butter. Without it, you're going to see that she does way less damage and she's way less consistent unless you get super lucky all the time, which will never happen, right? After that, I recommend her S3. Some people like her S1, but I highly recommend her S3 over it. Mostly because of the fact that, one, you're getting more damage, sure, you're getting this better Purify, sure, but the biggest thing here is this skill cooldown. So the reason why you want this skill cooldown is because on a 3-turn cooldown, you have permanent crit rate up buff. Even though it says 2-turn crit rate up buff, it's actually 3 turns because it doesn't start ticking down until after this effect's over. So because of that, it's basically 100% uptime on it. Also, you're going to see that later on, you'll be getting these nodes that give you speed. And speed is super good on Yeli, which is going to be very different from other DPS because of the fact in PvP you can use her as a very fast DPS character and still one-shot on the open, which is insane. So yeah, she's a very powerful character. Because of that, you definitely want to max out her S3. And the reason why you want to do this is because you get this crit rate up, which will be permanently on your character, and also because you'll be matching the cooldown with Revelation. So Revelation, best shell in the game for PvP. If you guys don't know, if you crit, you just do a ton of damage, true damage, by the way, that scales with your own attack and also will be according to the enemy's max HP, makes it so that you shred bosses, makes it so that you like one-shot tanks, and this goes through Bloodbath set, which kind of prevents damage you take, which is insane. So basically, yeah, you just want to max your S3, makes the cooldown line up. If your Revelation procs and you're just S1ing, it's pretty bad. On top of that, your S1 is also good to do because, like I said, your follow-up attacking with your S1, so having better multipliers is nice. You get a chance to buff steal, and by increasing the level, you can have an extra chance. Just a bonus, you shouldn't really rely on this because you're not going to build her on effect accuracy, but it is nice to have. So I would say at least get it to level 4 when you can. You get the most damage from this and you unlock extra attack. Level 5, not really necessary unless you really want it for like Aurora or something like that. So yeah, she's a pretty Lattice hungry character, but it's really worth it because she's very strong. And I'm going to show you some builds that I actually like to run on her and I've seen people run. So this first setup is mostly going to be for shell farming because shells have pretty low health compared to thresholds and like Anasync echoes. You're kind of just going for high burst. Because of that, Harvest Fury is a very good option. I think very close to this is also Momentum Fury. But the thing is, I don't really like Momentum on her because of the fact that Momentum gives you a ton of crit rate and it just feels really bad when you actually build her because you're going to overcap on crit. Like you're going to see I'm at 73% total and I have 0 crit rate main pieces. So, if I have Momentum on her, I'd be at literally like 100% and then I'll be technically at 130 because of this S3. Also, the fact that, this is like the shell farming build, the reason why I say that is because in shell farming, you only have 4 characters. You're going to have something like a Lily or a Sukiyo or like a Chiaki the Echo or something. You're going to pretty much always have Valerian. And then after that, you're going to have either Kloss, who has a decent amount of debuffs with defense down. She actually has 3 on her S3, which is very good for momentum. If not, you're going to use something like a, for example, if I can find her very quickly, a Dinah, who also has a defense downer in S3. Also, you can have a chance to have 3. The thing is, like in high burst situations, especially with the fact that you're already ignoring defense, this is going to be pretty similar value. And also, if one of those debuffs get resisted, it makes it so that harvest is better. And also on top of that, you're not having any more than 3 debuffs at a time, which will make harvest, pretty comparable to momentum, especially in that situation. You're going to see a lot of the top runs, actually, if we look. People don't actually understand how or why people do this, but you're going to see in the top runs, if we look at like Rengo Kukutsu, which is one that she's really good in. If we look at the fastest clears here, you're going to see some of them are going to be on, the first one is going to be on Harvest Fury, which is very strange, right? This guy's running purely Harvest Fury. And if you scroll down, this one's also on Harvest Fury. So there's a reason for this. The burst is higher. Trust me, you can run her on other sets as well, but Harvest Fury is going to be the best for shell farming. Now, that's not to say that you need it for shell farming. You can run her on other builds. For example, this is a pretty common build, Kenai Fury as well. And this is because Kenai Fury is very good on stuff like dieting and also Messiah. But Kenai loses value when you hit a lot, and because of the fact that she's proccing a lot of her follow-up attacks, it definitely loses value because you can only get damage boost on 3 hits. So because of that, you do lose some value on this, but it's still a decent option. You can also run her on Onslaught as well for shell farming. It's fine. People run that as well, and yeah, it's still a decent option. Now, if you don't have Fury, you can run, Kenai Harvest as well. That's not as great, or even something like Kenai Battle Will. But Battle Will, I would probably recommend staying away from, because the way that Battle Will works on her skills is that the first hit on any of her abilities has a chance to proc it. Nothing else does. You can't chain into Battle Wills, into chaining your follow-up passive, into chaining into your Battle Will, into chaining into your S2. That would be super broken, so that's not a thing. So yeah, a lot of flexibility in sets, really up to you. But for shell farming especially, I think that Harvest and Fury are going to be your best choices. Now, if you're farming like harder content, and by harder content I mean, bosses with more health, you'll see more value in stuff like Onslaught, Fury even, and something like Kenai Fury, and like, for example, Onslaught Fury, because you're going to get past that 50% breakpoint and then start doing less damage for a longer period of time. But it really doesn't matter. I just think anything really works. It just really comes down to what you have. And you're going to see I opted into this build for shell farming, even though I have this Kenai shell. So it's really up to you and what pieces you have. This character is super flexible in what you can build, which makes her great for new players when you're building her. Now, in terms of PvP, this is where things can get pretty weird. So PvP, Yeli is very strange in how you want to build her. And by strange, she's like one of the only DPSs you want to build pretty fast. So this is going to be my setup for PvP defense. So I have different setups for defense and different setups for RTA. So the reason why I have this set up on defense is because I pair her with a turn meter pusher. My Lily is not geared right now because I'll explain why later. But basically, I'm farming something in the background. But yeah, I have her like at usually like 330, 340 speed, and then I boost my Yeli with S2, my twin trick, and this usually pushes my Yeli to the front. Now, the reason why you want to build her fast is because after Lily pushes her up, you can take your turn, and because she can actually proc Revelation very, very well, her S3 hits 3 times, and then you can chain into her S2 passive like 2 or 3 times, so you can even proc it on a single target like 6 times. She's very good at breaking through Valerian defenses. Valerian has that cheat death, which can stop people from dying from her S3. However, Yeli can break through it very easily on the main target, and her S3 multipliers are pretty ridiculous. If you guys don't believe me, try running her on a full attack build with Revelation in PvP. Just boost her up in S3, and you're gonna see that she can like wipe teams. And you want to pair her with something that can boost her meter, and you really want to pair her with something like a Valerian, because Valerian gives her an attack buff with her Hazy Dream passive. So you'll see a lot of on defenses. If you ever see Yeli, you'll probably see it with Lily, Valerian, Yeli, and X, usually like Freya for the extra turn meter push. So very good on a faster build. She doesn't really need any crit damage. All you really need is speed and attack, and she will just wipe the floor. And just make sure you're at 70% crit chance and you're good to go. Now for RTA, you can even run her faster and not rely on an opener. So I'll show you my RTA build very, very quickly, and I'll explain why it's so good. So this is my RTA build, and it looks very strange, I know. The biggest thing is like I have an HP % bonus Swift Rush. This is not good. You want to switch this out for crit damage or more attack. but I don't have access to it, one, right now, without completely gimping my other characters. So this is what I was trying out, and it's actually very surprising because even on this build, she can one-shot carries. So you take the first turn with her, and you just kind of one-shot carries. And the reason why I'm not running a different shell is because Revelation can't actually roll into Swift Rush. So because of that, I just kind of have this scuffed setup. But you're going to see a lot of the top players that are running Yeli and RTA are running her very fast on pretty much 70% crit rate because she gets 30 from her S3 and then full attack. And you're going to see that she just destroys and one-shots a character, puts AoE defense break on everyone, and also gets them all to like 30, 20%, 10%, and even the squishy characters one-shots them. And it's just pretty much Revelation abuse until this gets nerfed. And Yeli is like one of the best users, actually the best DPS user of this in my opinion for PvP. So because of that, you know, she's super, super oppressive right now. You just literally build her on full speed, you build her on crit chance, and then you build her on attack, and she's good to go. And obviously it could be even better. I just have to drop this for pretty much anything, which should be pretty easy because this is only 6 speed as well. So I can get her even faster to like 320 speed. This is my RTA build. I recommend going as fast as you can, like I mentioned. You know, you don't have to do this for arena defense. On arena defense, right, you can run her just, you know, decently fast. And this is because of the fact that on defense teams, you can rely on your characters a lot more to help push her up. But if you actually pick her in RTA, sometimes her Lily gets banned, sometimes other things get banned, and this can really surprise people, and you're going to see that it is going to become way more popular when people start to recognize how strong it is. And if you're wondering why this like PvP builds on Battle Will, my defense setup, it's because of this piece. I can't drop it, and I had the shell anyways. I was like, screw it, let's make it all work, and this is what I came up with, and it works pretty well, even though Battle Will isn't that great. So yeah, very flexible character, a lot of ways to build her, I know, but that makes her so fun to play, trust me. If you're looking for a very good, like, just straightforward build, you don't have to, like, you know, mix and match too much. Just run it on something like this, just because, you know, you have Keen Eye, you can have your shell on Keen Eye Fury, and then you can swap this onto, like, your Diting at will, you can swap this onto, like, a different character at will. If you like to use Rosa, you probably want to switch this to Momentum. You know, there's so many different ways to build her, but I just decided to show you guys a few. The biggest thing is, you know, just make the sets work depending on what shell you have. Don't, you know, kill yourself trying to farm the perfect shell, because, you know, there's so many ways to build her. It all works. She scales very well with every stat, and also, you know, she's super fun to play and super powerful. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys have her on. If you actually look in recent runs for like any single thing for, let's just look at like Rengo Kutsu. Like if you're still struggling with the build, you can see every single Yeli is going to be on different builds. This guy's on Fury Harvest as soon as I say that, but you'll see like this guy's on Momentum Fury, this guy's on Momentum Fury, this guy's on Keen Eye Battle Will, and you'll see it's all clearing because as long, like Onslaught Fury, right, as long as you like max out her S2 and S3 and have points in her S1 as well, somewhat, you can run her on so many different builds. Like this guy's on like a faster build, and you can like clear a lot of content. Yeah, she's very strong for PvE, very strong for PvP, and just a really, really, really good character and super fun to play as well. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what build you guys have her on, and also make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next video. Peace.